Support comes from BECU, a member-owned credit union putting people over profit, offering financial services and support to the community with access to local financial centers, over 30,000 ATMs, and online resources at becu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Support comes from Soaring Heart Natural Beds, where concern for the health and safety of sleep now extends to everything from curbside pickup and delivery to secure in-store appointments. Showrooms in Seattle, Bellevue, and now in Edmonds, or online at soaringheart.com.
Hey, good morning. It's Paige Browning in for Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. There's a saying that August is the Sunday of summer. I do have some qualms with that, but I could feel it a bit this week. I'm really trying to soak in what's left of summer, but those Sunday Scaries Fall Edition are really starting to creep in. Author Ronit and lifestyle content creator and mental health advocate Paige Browning are here to break down the week with me and help me fight off those Sunday scaries. But first, let's get you caught up. You already know the ferry lines are backed up in Washington. They've been popular for vacations this summer. Add to that a recent staffing shortage. It started after Governor Inslee announced that COVID vaccines are required for state workers. According to Washington State Ferries, they had 91 employees essentially call in sick last week, a number officials say is unprecedented, and it led to some email exchanges about respect for coworkers. The Ferries Workers Union is now bargaining with the state over the vaccine mandate. If you've been following Nordstrom's journey to stay relevant and keep its stores open, well, they could have some department store competition soon from Amazon. The corporation has plans to open several large retail stores in the U.S. with clothes, household goods, electronics, and more, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. The Seattle-based company has not made it clear if or when it plans a Seattle store. The first ones are expected in California and Ohio, and expect Amazon's own brand to be on those shelves. And President Biden has nominated a Northwest tribal leader to be the first ever Native American director of the National Park Service. Charles F. Sams III is Cayuse and Walla Walla and a citizen of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. That's just south of Walla Walla in Oregon. Most national parks border Indian reservations and were tribal homelands before the park system was created. Sams will need to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. You know what I did on Wednesday? I put on a sweatshirt. Longingly then looked at my sleeveless shirt collection and tank tops, feeling like my time was just too short with them. Now, tank top weather isn't over yet, but somehow in the span of a week, we've gone from a heat wave to the lowest high temperature that we've had in 2 months, 68 degrees. Ronit is here with us, author of the memoir When She Comes Back, and host of the podcast, And Then Everything Changed. Hey, Ronit, were you happy with this fall weather? Still trying to hold on to summer?
I feel like I'm going to get whiplash. The weather has been so mercurial, and I feel my humanness so acutely because I was so uncomfortable for so long. We, like so many other people in Seattle, have no air conditioning, just a couple of little units that we can roll around. And that sounds funny. And so I'm just like a beached whale, perspiring anywhere I go. And then it got cool and I was like, oh, this is lovely. I can open the windows. Yes. There's no air quality index issue. And then I was like, it's kind of cold. And I realized I can't be happy. And the weather, it seems like no matter where you live, the weather is an issue. People love to talk about it. It informs your entire mood and day. And I couldn't believe how unhappy I was by the change and how hard I am to please.
Wow. Okay. New weather reporter Ronit Paige Browning is here as well, lifestyle content creator and mental health advocate. Aisha, are you into sweater weather or do you prefer sort of a beachy summer vibe? Or maybe you're hard to please like Ronit.
So definitely hard to please, but pre-pandemic, I lived for a seasonal outfit. Since we are in the pandemic, I too looked at my closet and realized I have nothing but t-shirts and sweatshirts and leggings. And I'm kind of sad that I have not bought clothes in real life since 2019. Yeah. It's a problem. So I have no summer clothes, nothing to wear.
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm supposed to be going back into the office. Am I wearing those sweaters from 2 years ago? To be determined. Well, the top story on everyone's mind this week is not here in Seattle and not about the weather. It's in Afghanistan. The Taliban has seized power in the country just 2 weeks before American troops are set to withdraw, ending a 2-decade-long war. And back here in Seattle, a lot of people now are reevaluating their relationship with Afghanistan. Aisha, I don't know your exact age, but I'm guessing this war has been going on for the majority of your life. It has for mine. How are you thinking about all of this?
So what's interesting for me is that I used to be a military spouse, and it feels like a lifetime ago. But my ex-husband and I, when we were together, we went through 2 deployments where he was active duty in Afghanistan. And so although so much time has passed since then, with all of the news circulating around the U.S. leaving the country, it has really made me start thinking, what was all of this for? I think about all of the families, hundreds of thousands of families here and abroad whose lives have been changed forever. And on a very personal level, the trajectory of my life absolutely changed as a result of the war. I think of all of the PTSD and the very real issues that a lot of soldiers are dealing with, and just the emotions of what impact did I make in the service, in the sacrifice that I gave, and really was this for anything? And I wonder what kind of emotional support they're being offered, because a lot of people have identity crisis around their careers in just regular everyday life, let alone when you're in such a heightened state of war for so long.
This ties in a lot with what I've been noticing, so one woman who is affiliated with the military that I'm with on social media said something about the people she knows lamenting that we left, all this work we did and now we're leaving, and what was it for? And then she said, well, I'm really happy at least that a generation of women and girls was educated and given this empowerment. And then I was listening to Melissa Harris Perry's guests today on the Takeaway, and she had 2 women who I want to mention. Amani Al-Khattabeh, founder of Muslim Girl, which is an organization working to normalize the word Muslim for both Muslims and non-Muslims. And she also had Rafia Zakaria. And Rafia Zakaria wrote a book called Against White Feminism, Notes on Disruption. And they were really digging into this idea of the white feminist savior and the white feminist narrative. So one thing that Amani said was that it's time to take a step back and pass the mic to the people directly affected. People have been speaking for Afghan women all this time, for decades, and it's time to let them speak for themselves. And Rafia was also saying that we've sort of had this export of white feminism inflected, and I'm quoting, with racial privilege to save brown people. And this idea of saving grown women from brown men, which puts white women in this position of feminist in chief. And she also said that Americans have been fed this propaganda in many ways for decades. And so we've all kind of begun to internalize it. All of us are kind of drinking in this narrative, and I haven't given it any thought about, what's really going on and and now we're leaving all these Afghan women in really dire straits.
Well, and I could say that I don't think that they even would agree that we started the war to save women. I think that was like a newer narrative that has come out in maybe the last couple of years, but I think that when the war initially started, I don't ever remember hearing anything about women and children being the reason that we're launching in to save them. And when my ex was over there, the first thing he said was, don't listen to what you're hearing on American news, because I'm here in person and it's drastically different. And so I think I quickly realized, and this is over 10 years ago, I quickly realized that, there is a level of propaganda that we are consistently fed in the U.S. that we don't identify as propaganda. And we look at other countries and think that it happens to them and not to us. And we see it happening maybe more so with masks and vaccines. And we see this huge disconnect of misinformation, but that's just one example of it happening. And it unfortunately does happen for us in this country and other areas.
Yeah. Before we move on, I'll just note that there are a number of local nonprofits working to help Afghan refugees that settle here in Washington, and those include the Refugee Women's Alliance, World Relief Seattle, and Lutheran Immigrant and Refugee Services. All of them say they need volunteers and donations. Now, moving on to the other big topic of the week, this omnipresent topic, the pandemic. This week, Governor Inslee announced that if you're working in a school, K through 12 or higher education, you've got until October 18th to get vaccinated. And even if you are, you're still going to wear a mask inside the schools. Ronit, I believe you have school-age children. How are they feeling about it?
Yes, I have high school students, and they, I think we're just all happy to get started at school again. I haven't asked them specifically, how do you feel about the mask thing? I know it was difficult socially. I know that we had a couple of months of school, during the pandemic, and it was really difficult. And there was all that online school. And I think a lot of people are suffering so much from the social isolation. So I'd much rather have my kids in school with a mask than not at school. And it's unfortunate because I feel like a couple of months ago, just in May, maybe I thought, oh my gosh, we're getting back to normal. We're going to have regular school in the fall. We're getting vaccinated, especially high school age, because most of them are going to be vaccinated. And so it's safer than maybe the younger ages below 12. And then I feel like in the span of just a couple of months, just in a couple of weeks, even the numbers are rising and we're seeing all these breakthrough infections. And so now we have to kind of tamp down our hope again a little bit. But I'm fine with a mask. What about you, Aisha?
I have changed every single thing about my life for this pandemic, and I am so thankful to be living in a city where science and data is driving the decision making. And so I feel for not just the students, but for the teachers who are being sent to care and educate and empower a whole generation. And in some cities, they're not even being equipped to stay safe themselves. And so it makes me thankful that at least here we have leadership that is not afraid to take a stand, knowing that you cannot please everyone, but what you can do is make decisions that are in line with safety and data and information we have. And so I know my friends who have kids who are high school age, or my friends who are teachers or administrators, they do want to be able to provide the best education and get kids back in there, but in a safe way. So I'm all in favor of it.
Well, one last story before we go. As you may have guessed, you're hearing my voice instead of Trish's all week. She's on vacation. Thank goodness. Go enjoy the water wherever you are, Trish. And in fact, a lot of KUOW is on vacation. A lot of my friends are on vacation. And this is great. Don't get me wrong. But even with everyone on vacation, it doesn't quite feel like the summer I had planned. People are taking trips, but we're sort of closing in on masks again and restrictions possibly again. And you guys, this was supposed to be hot girl summer. I was supposed to be partying, traveling. Instead, summer is sort of coming to its end. Aisha, I'll start with you. Did you have sort of a hot girl 2021 agenda? Was it what you dreamed of?
This absolutely was not what I dreamed of. I was hoping that collectively as a country, as a people, we would have been further along. And the way that my anxiety is set up, I just did not feel comfortable flying for pleasure. I already have flight anxiety. And then you see these images of people getting duct taped to seats mid-flight. And I'm like, I can't
because they wouldn't wear a mask?
For all sorts of things. And so I have not had a hot girl summer. I am fantasizing about my hot girl summer in 2022. Fingers crossed. What I am getting done, though, is I'm getting a breast reduction next month. And so I have big plans for this reveal next year. So the outfits, the everything, even if it's pandemic still, I will be showing all the fashion in my house. It's going to happen.
Ronit, how did your summer turn out? Did you and your family get to enjoy it or still have plans?
You know, we saw my sister who lives in California, and that was really lovely, and her family. And that was a big deal because we missed holidays together, and we try to see each other and her boys every couple of months because they live so close. So we went there. But aside from that, we've done nothing interesting. We didn't have any big plans. No, really. Well, I had my book launch. So, you know, I was doing my book launch since May. So that was my book launch summer. And it's been really fun. And I've had a great time. And I've been very social with other writers on social media and doing like, you know, book clubs virtually and stuff like that. But for a moment, I thought I think in April or May, I thought maybe we should go to Spain. Let's go to Spain. And then my mom just shook her head and she's like, don't do that. There's a lot of people not vaccinated in the world. And, you know, there are a lot of variants. Just don't do that. And so it was just a little flare in my head for a second, like that could be so lovely. And then I dropped it and I've been nowhere. I'm not even going camping. I'm not going out of state whatsoever. Like it's not happening. So I had no hot girl summer. No hot girl anything for me.
You know, here's the thing. We talk about hot girl summer, but, you know, it's all about being carefree. It's about finding moments where you can just sit back, relax, maybe party, not worry about what you've been worrying about. That's sort of the gist of hot girl summer, right? So if that has to happen for me in winter, next spring, I'll be waiting. And maybe I'll have some new outfits by then.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to our guests, Ronit Plank, author of When She Comes Back and host of the podcast, And Then Everything Changed, and lifestyle content creator and mental health advocate, Ishea Brown. Thanks so much, you two.
Thank you so much.
Have a great weekend. That's all for today. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend about us. It's very easy to share an episode. You can do it right from your phone. Sarah Leibovitz produced today's show. Our production team this week is Alec Cowan, Brandy Fullwood, Jenny Cecil Moore, Kristen Leong, Sarah Leibovitz, and Diana Opong. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Paige Browning. Have a great weekend.
Hey, Bill Radke here to remind you that KUOW has been bringing you the news since 1952 and even helped found the National Public Radio Network in the 70s. August 20th is National Radio Day, so we're taking a moment to celebrate the legacy of public radio and the community of supporters who make it all possible. Help us celebrate by sharing why you love public radio or become a new member at just $5 per month to sustain this service for the next generation of listeners. Visit KUOW.org/radio.